Oh, what's up, world? I didn't particularly feel like going live today. On my way back from the gym, to be honest, I'm kind of like not in the mood. But I think there's quite a lot to be said for doing things that you don't feel like doing. So here I am, got a big day, a lot of big decisions that need to be made. Feeling a lot of things around these decisions, right? So as I always endeavor to be with you guys, the man in the ring, I always try to be as authentic and as transparent and as genuine as I can with you guys. And it's really interesting. It's really cool, that's happening, I haven't had to deal with imposter syndrome. I hear a lot of guys, a lot of folks that get on here have this battle with imposter syndrome. And I'm like, well, I've been kind of imperfect from the beginning, right? So this was never about me being perfect. This has always been about me struggling in front of you, right? I remember when I was gonna put on my first shooting video where I was in a shooting competition, all my boys were like, dude, you're gonna post this? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, dude, you suck. And I was like, I know. I was like, the point is to get better in front of everyone, and hopefully it'll inspire some people to see that they can do the same thing, But so those are the values that run what I do here. And so I always just want to show up and give my best. So today I was really not in the mood to get on here because I was like dealing with some deep things and processing some deep things. And I just really wanted to have space and time to myself. I honestly went into the gym today. I didn't want to talk to anybody. Of course, I talked to men. God used this time for me to minister and talk about him in the gym in multiple instances where I actually worked out less today than probably I have in the last 6 months, and talked more today than I have probably in the last 6 months to a year in the gym, of course. Why? Because so much of what we do as Christians is about learning to crucify your flesh, learning to take what you want and bring it under submission to what the Father wants, and then you live, right? What came out of those contacts and those interactions? Spiritual growth, conversations that would make me and the other man involved better men, right? And so there's this whole perspective you can have on life to where everything serves, right? I place before you blessing and cursing. Choose life, right? And this is God, and this is reality of constantly showing up and coming up for you, and constantly putting two things in front of you, and you can choose kind of what based on your perspective, the way you orient yourself to the equation, the way you look at it, right? Because you don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are. That'll dictate your perception, what you understand of it, what comes back at you based on where you're standing, the angle you're choosing to look at it from, your perception, what you perceive as a result of the decision of your perspective. And then that'll go into your paradigms and your beliefs, and then your beliefs drive your actions. And then we usually will create a bias, will usually create a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, even according to quantum mechanics, quantum physics, the world is the universe, this reality is impacted by the viewer. The viewer is actually interfacing with this reality, and the information that's coming back to the viewer, it's trying to give you back what you're looking for. Super gnarly. Basic example that's overused that some of you may not have heard before is the reality of the red truck, right? Like, so you're gonna buy a red truck and you're like, yo homie, I want to buy a red truck. No one's got a red truck. When I get a red truck, I'm gonna be doing big tings. I'm the only dude in my street with a red truck. You think you're so hard, and then obviously you open your eyes and like every day you're seeing red trucks everywhere, right? That is your reticular activation system. Now that something is in your awareness and it's in your consciousness and it's consciously significant to you, now you're super conscious about it and around it. So this is kind of the confirmation bias we have in society, in the world. Hey Dad, love you, good to see you on here. And confirmation bias we have in the world when we're going through life and we're looking for what it is we believe to reinforce our beliefs so that we can psychologically sit in a state of what we call in psychology homeostasis, which is a state of balance and comfort. So like, I need to believe what I want, what I believe is true, because it makes me feel powerful and more in control. And then I'm in a state of interpsychic homeostasis. But what you really maybe need to consider is that you only grow when you're outside of that place of homeostasis, outside of that place of comfort. And so if you're looking for expansion, you've got to get out of that state of comfort and homeostasis and familiarity. And we really kind of are super binary. We only have really protection and expansion, you know what I'm saying? Offense, defense, faith and fear. And so there are appropriate times, both are necessary, just like day and night, light and dark, right? Both are necessary in their appropriate season. Sometimes you should be in protection, defense, and sometimes you need to be in offense. I would argue you need to be in offense more often. However, you know, like sometimes for me, and I know this is true for most people, I can just look at their life, fear is the most motivating emotion in the world. Some would argue that it's love, but I would say it depends on where your seat of reality is. For most people, fear is the most motivating emotion. And so if you learn how to harness that, now you learn how to use fear. For me, I let myself stay a little bit afraid all the time. Like, I'm super afraid of what happens if I don't watch my diet. I'm super afraid of what happens if I allow what I feel to dictate what I do and how I act. I'm super afraid because what I feel is something fierce constantly. What I feel like, if I operated by my feelings, like what I instinctively feel, there would be dead pregnant people everywhere all the time. So like, I'm not God. I need Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And that's what makes me show up in this awesome, like, you know, the way that it makes me show up in an amazing way, right? But if I went by what Byron wants to do, oh my gosh, people would just be there's a lot going on. So, you know, and that's what the Christian walk is about. It's about not being conformed to the world, but being transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? Your mind is your soul, your mind, your will and emotions. And getting that in alignment with the Spirit of God that dwells inside of you. So you show up as a man, like the ultimate masculine archetype of Jesus, who could have called down 12 legions of angels, and will in the end, to decimate his enemies, but chose the path of love and deliverance, provision and protection for the entire world and for everyone who would ever be born, right? But you can follow Jesus if you ever actually read what he said and how he was in red. One of the most historically validated and reconfirmed persons that exist in the world. You'll see that he's super masculine. But that wasn't the point. The point is, based on my understanding of, you know, the God I serve, of God, the God, I have big decisions that I have to make constantly. I have 1,000-pound decisions I have to make today. And, you know, from what I read in the Bible and what I know of him, he is the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning and the end, right? He's the God who chose me before the foundation of the world, based on what I read in the Bible. The best explanation I've ever heard in quantum physics is that he's 7-dimensional if he's outside of time, and he operates the way that he said he operates, based on what I just recited to you from the Bible about who he is and how he moves. He creates the end to the beginning. And so what this means is, he's not on a timeline going through life with me, making these decisions with me. He chose me knowing he sees me complete. He chose me starting from the end to the beginning. He knows all the decisions that I have already made. One of the things I've learned with him is that I have to walk by faith and not by sight. One of the things that I've learned from him is that everything is love. Sometimes I win, sometimes I learn, but as long as I'm with him, he has the task of helping recreate me in his image, in the image of Christ, right? Jesus Christ. Christ was not his last name. Christ means the anointed one. Christ means the one that walks with the power of the Holy Spirit, essentially, to simplify it. And so he's helping me walk in that Christ consciousness and show up in the world and literally manifest the kingdom of heaven here through my actions, my deeds, the way I'm being and showing up. That his spirit can operate in the world through those who yield to it, those who subjugate their flesh, their will, their want to his spirit and manifest the greatness and the goodness he originally intended on this planet. And so when I look at these decisions I have to make, I can relax knowing that my Heavenly Father, the only being that's ever been 100% dependable in my life, already has a plan and he knows how it ends, and I'm here not by chance, but on purpose. And so I can relax in these decisions knowing that my steps are ordered by him and that everything is love. Like literally, no matter what the outcome is on these decisions, I'm in his hand, and I'm gonna learn what I need to learn, and I'm gonna develop how I need to develop, right? And my training and my development are tied to his purpose, his will, and his work, and what he's gonna do in my life. And so when you start to look at life that way, you can kind of really, you start to be able to really relax into the struggles you're faced with. You really start to see how they're here to serve you. You really start to see how you may be facing a supernatural enemy, an enemy that is greater than you, an enemy that is stronger than you, an enemy that is more powerful than you, which literally, in my opinion, means you're on the path. Because God's not gonna put you on a path that doesn't require him to show up as your father. Like he's just, go read, like if you read what God does in people's lives in the Bible, you're just not gonna find anybody where God was like, hey bro, go do things that are comfortable for you, that you know how to do. Don't fight Goliath. I got another 15-year-old kid over here for you, David. You guys can brawl it out. It's just so for me, one of the biggest indicators that I'm on the path God has for me is I have to continue stepping out in faith. Faith without works is dead. So faith without action is a joke. It's impossible to please the Father without faith. And so you're not making God happy if you're not operating, acting, taking action, pulling triggers by faith. And so what I find is that as I walk by faith and not by sight, so as I walk by faith in him, not by what I see on the vertical plane, as I'm operating on the horizontal plane, miracles unfold in my life because God shows up. He's the most dependable being I've ever had in my life. And that's how I know I'm on the path. And I'm almost always dealing with a little bit of fear because I'm overextending myself, because it's demanding I grow and I develop into his image. But I'm choosing not fear, but I'm choosing faith. And then he's showing up as a faithful father, always there for me, no matter what's going on, no matter how great the enemy is, no matter how much damage I take, I'm never destroyed. And he's so faithful, and he's demonstrating his goodness and his graciousness and his awesomeness constantly because I'm choosing to step into these battles. And then the way he is with me in terms of provision, protection, development, making me do the hard things from a place of love, then I actually get to show up that way for people in my life because God's constantly demonstrating it to me because I'm submitting to him and yielding to him by doing the things that he's asking me to do that are scary to me and that don't make sense to me, but I'm choosing faith and submission to him to execute, i.e. going live on my platform when I don't freaking want to, because I'm processing a lot of different things, unscripted, in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and being 100% vulnerable and genuine and just simply giving you exactly what God's working on me in my life with today, right? Like case in point. And then when I realize, when I read the comments and see how many people, this act of just submission and attempt at being faithful with what God's given me. He's given me this platform, attempt at being faithful with the gift he's put inside me that's here just to serve you guys. I end up unlocking a state of being just blessed, right? Because you start to sit there and you're like, man, what a blessing, And when you don't take responsibility for your gift and you don't take praise for it, it's not because I'm so tight, it's because I yielded to God in a way that allowed a room and opportunity for him to let my gift, the gift he gave me, be used in the world to do good things. And then you start to realize that, like, dude, I could just run with this forever. I got to get in here, but I'm gonna have to wrap this up. But then you start to realize that, like, the ultimate way to be and to show up in life is simply service. Now, as men, we acquire power physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, for one reason, whether you realize it or not, and that's to serve, right? When you're immature and young, you think that it's to serve yourself. And then the more you get to be like God, and the more you mature and the more you grow, you start to realize that, man, there's just nothing as fulfilling as serving others and blessing others and providing and protecting others and watching them flourish as a result of your contributions and as a result of you showing up as the ultimate servant leader, the way Jesus did in their lives. There's nothing more validating than that, you know? And so it becomes the ultimate way to live life. And then you're fine with being vulnerable in front of people if it's going to serve. You're fine with maybe falling down in front of them and being the man in the ring, but because ultimately you're fine with what it does in people's lives. Anyways, I love you guys. I wanted to share that with you this morning. Actually, I didn't want to share that with you. I didn't want to go live at all. But it turned out to be a blessing because, you know, I submitted to him and did what I was supposed to do. And then, which is in a whole nother lesson, submission is one of the most powerful principles and blessings. If you can find the right person, there are people you should submit to for seasons of your life, but living a submitted life gives you authority, gives you access, gives you safety, gives you permission. And one last principle, and I'll jump, but like the cops that knock on your door, I'm not going to listen to them because they're more powerful than me. More than likely, I'm probably more dangerous than they are. Probably. There could be two of them. I'm still probably more dangerous. But the reason I'm going to listen is because they are under authority. And if they interact with me in alignment with the authority they're submitted to, then they have the ability to call a freaking platoon to my house, which can overpower me, right? So the principle of submission gives you authority, gives you access to power, gives you so many things. And so when you understand this, it's awesome, you know? This translates directly into marriage, but that's another whole thing. And so as a Christian, when I operate submitted to the Father, like, you know, I just did here, it gives me the ability to bless people. Guide you today as he's guided me. All right, let's go. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God.